Bitcoin at 67,100 US dollars. We're recovering a little bit from our sell-off that we had last night, or actually yesterday evening, heading towards 66,000 US dollars. But the market situation is truly not good. We're seeing increasing tensions between the US and Iran. So it seems like things are really escalating here. Then we got some important information from the Fed minutes. Those are also very, very interesting, in my opinion. And yes, the volume is still very, very low. We'll definitely take a look at all of this, try to put everything into perspective. But before we get started, as always, a quick reminder, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You can find the free link below in the video description. That fits quite well. Sell America. I think that's kind of the theme of today's video too. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade all of this, whether it's Forex, crypto, stocks, or anything else, you can do all of that with my partner, Exchange BingX. Right now, you can secure up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses. So just sign up using the link below in the video description and you're in. And of course, you also get benefits through my link, for example, during the live streams, for instance. Tonight at 7 p.m., trial funds will be given away again. Funds will be raffled off. All right, then I'd say let's get started. So Bitcoin is slightly recovering from its lows that we reached last night. Right here at our yearly pivot S1, we found some support, even if it's not exactly major support, but we're slowly trying to work our way back up a bit, even though there's really no real reason for the markets to push upwards. Because as I already mentioned at the beginning of the video, where do I have the news? So here it is. Yes, Iran. Warriors are rising, bringing Brent crude back above $70 per barrel. So oil is also climbing back above $70. Then yesterday there was still more, let's just say, threats. On the one hand from Iran towards the USA, but also from the USA towards Iran. More and more troops are being sent over, new tanker aircraft, new fighter jets, all sorts of things. So things are really boiling over down there more than ever. That's not really good. That's very, very bad. Then there will probably soon be a new ECB president, chief, etc. at the ECB. Because Lagarde will probably be replaced, or at least won't be there much longer. We'll be leaving soon. And then yesterday the Fed minutes were released. And remember what I've been saying again and again for the past few weeks, the topic of rate hikes isn't actually that far off, because everyone is always just talking about rate cuts. But the whole issue of rate hikes is still a possibility as well. Because the Fed minutes state a two-sided description of future rate decisions reflecting the possibility of hikes. So if inflation remains high and does not settle at the 2% target or even rises, there could also possibly be rate hikes. And this is a little passage here that I really, really like. And everyone who's always there in the videos, or of course also in the live streams, knows that we've been preparing for this topic for quite some time. We probably won't see any rate cuts before July, because even in June, when the probability was a bit higher, now it's back to even odds, and we're seeing more of a 50-50 chance for a rate cut. That means the chances are dropping again now, also due to the Fed's statements. That's not really good. Let's switch back to Bitcoin. The volume is dead. Neither in the order book, if we take a look at it. Sometimes there are a few outliers, 10, 20 million in volume. That's nothing. So there's really absolutely nothing going on. At the same time, the funding rates are already rising again. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable that the funding rates are rising again. Overview over to the heat map, here too, unchanged. Maximum move at 71,400. And to the downside, everything is fully liquid. So even to the downside, it's clear that significantly more will be liquidated or should be liquidated, according to this heat map. That means, or to me it still suggests, unless there is some easing in the Fed's policy or some geopolitical change, we probably shouldn't expect rising crypto prices or anything like that. No to the moon talk here. At the moment, it just doesn't look like we're going to get anything bullish that would finally push the markets upward again. Because as I said, the geopolitical uncertainty is too high. And we can see that with gold, with silver, and we see it with oil. As long as all of that keeps rising, we really don't need to think about any kind of bull run or anything like that. Because it won't even get that far. At the same time, China and Russia are also somewhat involved in the whole situation again. With the whole Iran issue, since they're also conducting some exercises right now in the Strait of Hormuz, and who knows what else. Then all the diplomats are being withdrawn from those countries as well. Slowly but surely. So things are simmering to the breaking point, and it probably won't take much longer. Sure, we've been saying that for weeks now. Unfortunately, it really does seem like it won't be long now before something happens. Then maybe we'll see our last move in Bitcoin. Possibly our flash crash, maybe down below 60 or even towards 57. That would still be my best case scenario to then have a nice relief rally upwards afterwards. That would really be the best way to flush all the crap out of the market and at the same time bring the stock markets down a bit as well. Next week, Nvidia is coming up exactly in 1 week, so please keep that in mind as well. Let's move on to the altcoins. Ethereum is dead. I already said it yesterday, but at the moment, the altcoins are just, you can throw them straight in the trash. Nothing is happening at all. There's a lack of liquidity. There's a lack of cheap money. And as long as interest rates stay higher for longer, we really don't need to even think about anything going to the moon or the altcoins taking over the world. It doesn't look like it. And XRP isn't doing anything at the moment either, really. 0, absolutely nothing. So there's no need to go into that any further. Let's rather move on to the important things, shall we? Namely gold, because gold is pumping again. Why? Geopolitical uncertainties. But interest rates haven't been lowered yet. Yes, but geopolitical uncertainties are much more interesting. And people are getting prepared. So the way the sideways phase looks at the moment, I don't expect that we'll see a complete crash. And that this ABC scenario is also becoming less and less likely right now. In a normal scenario, if there were no geopolitical uncertainties, I would say, okay, an ABC move down and let it happen. As things stand now, even if we do not get any interest rate cuts, I rather expect that this whole thing will somehow break out upwards again into the range of $5,600. Why? Let's quickly switch to the daily time frame, turn on the vectors, and see here. There is still a nice vector or two left at the top up to about $5,400. That would be about a 10% move, and I can easily imagine that happening to the upside if the whole situation in Iran escalates. Same story with silver. Here too, we did not reach my buy zone where I would have bought more physical silver at around $60 to $58. But it also doesn't really look bad that we might even get another move upwards here. Why? Geopolitical uncertainty. That's currently the excuse for everything, but unfortunately that's how it is. And in the end, that's how we have to trade all this mess. Macro news and geopolitical uncertainties. Because interest rates will simply remain higher for longer, unfortunately. Let's move on to the dollar. It too continues to gain momentum. At the same time, USD/JPY as well. USD/JPY is rising, which in turn means that the yen has dropped significantly again. But whatever, it's an absolute shit show. And sooner or later, this stone will start rolling too and make a complete turnaround to the downside. I hope you took profits, otherwise the thing is at stop-loss entry anyway. The euro is weakening again. The cries about geopolitical uncertainty apparently seem to be giving the dollar significantly more strength because it's a safe haven currency. So much for that. Let's move on. The DAX is slowly sprinting toward its all-time high. The trade is now at stop-loss entry. So we can just throw this one in the bin for now. Dow Jones is in no man's land. Nasdaq is in no man's land. Still trying to swap the lows a bit here, but as I said, I can only repeat what I've been saying over and over the past few days. The volume is down. At the moment, we don't have any real volume, no sustainable volume here. It's always just light or below average volume. No matter what kind of pump, this is not bullish. Anyone can say what they want, but that's just not the case at all. Bullish? And as long as the volume doesn't come back somehow, at some point this turnaround or rollover to the downside will happen here as well. It's the same story with the S&P 500. Same story, volume is again clearly below average. This is not what we want to see if we want to talk about a strong US economy or a strong US stock market. It's just not that. Russell, same story, just a sideways phase, nothing else. Volatility index here too, let's quickly turn on the vectors. Possibly a surprise. No, there's a vector candle here as well. For me, this is still more of a hedge than anything else. It just means that preparations are being made here for a potentially bigger move soon. As I said, next week, Thursday, is Nvidia. Unfortunately, not until next week, Thursday. The main focus right now is simply more on precious metals. And of course also oil, because oil could also be on the verge of a big breakout here. If the whole situation escalates, including the Strait of Hormuz, which is already partially closed anyway. So just take care of yourselves, I would say. Don't try to catch the bottom or anything like that right now. You're probably still a bit better off with shorts than with longs, but as long as nothing changes at the moment, we really don't need to think about rising prices or any kind of bull runs, in my opinion. All right, with that, I'd say that's it from my side. We'll hear from each other again this evening at 7 p.m. for the live stream. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And otherwise, all that's left for me to say is have a nice and successful day. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and join the free Telegram group. And we'll hear from each other again this evening. Until then, ciao ciao, and as always, stay cool.